Hello, hello, hello. Coach Tay here, back for the Game 4 of the College Championship 2021 Finals. Again, this is Winthrop Eagles versus Maryville. It's Winthrop University and Maryville University taking on Game 4. And yeah, so if you haven't seen the last 3 games, Game 1, 2, and 3 have all been analyzed so far. And again, this is just the first 10 minutes of the game. So I'm going over here. It's a quick 10-minute sort of deal. Gonna go over drafts, who won them. Gonna go over win conditions, early game, mid to late game sort of stuff, and then we'll get into the game and discuss how certain lanes could have been played better, how game plans could have been altered in order to give some sort of, better outcome. But so far, we've seen a lot of action happening over the map, but there's been ints all over the place, right? And we're talking about ints here. We're talking about pretty hard ints. Frost Forest, sorry, was probably the reason why Winthrop lost last game. The early game pathing was just really, really quite weird. Didn't net any sort of positives out of anything for starting Raptors as Rumble. But regardless, we're going to get into game 4 here. It is do or die for Maryville, so we're going to get into the draft right away. Again, as a disclaimer, I haven't seen any of these games, not even the drafts, so I don't know what's picked, when, and whatnot. And again, another disclaimer, this is at the collegiate level, so my opinions, although they might be centered around whatever level I'm able to coach at, it's primarily going to be altered so that it's a lot more college meta-esque, if that makes too much sense there. So basically, again, this is at the collegiate level. Again, a lot of these players could play at a decently higher level than at the collegiate level. But that merely matters for draft, what champions are picked, what's comfortable for what players, and whatnot. Right? But with that being said, we will get into game 4. It seems that Winthrop will take back blue side, and Maryville will take the red side. Again, Maryville has lost every single game they played on red side, so Winthrop are set up to win this game. Stuff that's out of the ordinary. Well, we banned away the Gwen. That makes sense. Game 1, Winthrop first picked, the B1 Gwen, and that was quite destructive. They didn't really have any answers to it, and when they picked the Renekton, the R4 Renekton, into the Gwen to sort of match it in order to go wherever it's potentially going, it didn't get anything out of it, and Gwen actually hard stomped, which tells me that Spyrex doesn't know how to play into Gwen, or Maryville doesn't have a proper answer. So that's why they do end up banning it. It's also very, very good because of the fact that people haven't learned to play against it. It's very, very new. Champions like Gwen and Viego, they could be good, they could be bad, they could be better than what they are. Win rates don't reflect necessarily what the champions are capable of, and that goes both ways. So if a champion's very, very bad, but players don't know how to abuse it at that point in time, well, obviously that won't be taken advantage of. But similarly, if a champion's very, very good, take, Seraphine on release, all of a sudden the champion is able to play super, super safe mid. You can play him bot, you can play him support, and you can get away with a lot of funky stuff here and there. So that being said, Gwen is a perfectly fine ban. It's actually what you want to ban away if you're not able to have an answer into it. Senna coming out from the Winthrop. Again, this has been a staple ban for them all throughout this series. Doesn't make sense to change things up quite so deep into things. But again, Gangplank ban is coming out. That's something that they've been able to ban away every single time. When I'm thinking about bans, again, if the series does go as according to plan, we're thinking Nocturne. We're thinking Nocturne over here. We're thinking possibly Lee Sin. It should be a red side ban 100%, and then we're thinking Thresh. Although, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe it's the other way around. Maybe they might ban Thresh over here. We'll see. Nocturne's still up. Thresh still up. Lee Sin's still up. Udyr still up. Rumble's still up. And yeah, we're going to see what gets banned away. Thresh being banned away. Makes sense. Shady doesn't like to play it. He's banned it on both sides. They banned it both sides. They do want to keep that Leona and Nautilus matchup going. So Lee Sin being banned away here. Again, this is a little bit of a weird ban. Last time, I do believe they were blue side, which was game 2. They ended up picking Varus. And so when you're not taking away Lee Sin, obviously you guys don't really want to play Lee Sin. Maybe they can't play it again. Maybe they don't really want to flex it 3 ways. I do think he is, at the end of the day, a better laner, mid or top, depending what the matchup is. Because there are just far better picks in the jungle. You're thinking, if you're thinking AD primarily, you're thinking probably Hecarim. Hecarim's not the best at this point. Actually, I don't think so because it's 11.10. So maybe we're thinking. Actually, no, yeah, it'd be fine. So maybe Hecarim, Xin Zhao, Kindred, but it's very, very situational. Nocturne. But yeah, Lee Sin being banned away on blue side just seems a little bit weird. Udyr being banned away, okay, so they don't want to have them picking B1 Udyr, but I think game 2, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they picked Varus. If they didn't, my bad, but I believe that they're probably just going to take, oh no, Nocturne's still up, right, so Nocturne's still up, so they should absolutely just take it right now, 100%. They've been banning it every single game, and now they're going to give it to them. I'm pretty sure it's a 3-way flex between these 3 players, which means it's a very, very hard ball in draft, okay? It opens up variety of different options to play at the game. You can play, it opens up basically to play split comps, and so you can really take over the split. And when you're picking a champion like Rumble, again, Rumble can use ultimates from far away, so you can follow up with any sort of split combo. We're thinking like Camille, Camille Rumble. We're thinking what would beat high Nocturne top? Nothing really comes to mind. Akali maybe, but not really. I mean, Akali is still open, but yeah, they'll probably just pick Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa here is fine. They're obviously leaning towards Kai'Sa in every single one of these series. They're just going to keep it staple. Who knows? They're probably going to pick Varus and Nautilus here, and then save jungle pick for over here. Yeah, if I were to ask you guys, just Varus and Nautilus here. I can't even. Oh, wait, they're actually changing it up. Okay, so this tells me a lot, okay? This tells me that they have a very, very specific game plan for how they want to play out Nocturne. But it's awkward that you're going to pick Jinx. Jinx obviously does have quite a bit of range, so when you're thinking about early game, you're going to get the priority regardless of if you pick Jinx or Varus here. But the difference maker is that your team fights are super, super strong, okay? You can play front to back, but this is a bit awkward, so you're going to have to match it with some sort of aggression here. Sorry, not aggression, but front line, so that Jinx can sort of hit, and just hit, and not worry about dive. But it looks like Maryville are pointing towards dive. So you're going to want to have to abuse this Kai'Sa earlier in the game. But again, Jinx is more of a teamfight champion. When you're thinking about what Nocturne wants to do, it's like, okay, wait a minute, what's really the game plan here? Because it's going both ways right now. Not too sure they're going to pick B3. It's probably going to be support. They are going to take the Leona. Okay, so this is actually interesting because now you're switching it up. We're probably going to see a Nautilus over here, although I wouldn't be surprised if they were to pick something different, like a Galio. Galio would be fine. Alistair is still up. A lot of melee champions that can still go in, but they're just going to handshake. I don't like this at all. I think that you're making a really big mistake when you pick Nautilus here. You're going to have some opportunities to make some plays with Nautilus, obviously, but when you think about who has the better roams, I think it's going to give it over to Leona here. But that's not primarily why it's actually better. It's just because you're given the counter pick here. And so if Shady can play something that hard counters, Leona, I think 100% you want to take it. We're thinking champions like Alistair. We're thinking champions like Galio doesn't hard counter, but it works extremely well with Kai'Sa. And you're obviously going to pick something that does follow up quite heavily. But if we're thinking about how team comps have operated, again, I think Aatrox ban rather is very good here because Aatrox is also one of those champions that are going to go in, right? Team fighting champion, and if you're thinking about where Nocturne goes, you just shouldn't because you can't. You can still go top, still go jungle, still go mid. Okay, and if Aatrox get picked, as well as Nocturne, that comp is just crazy. But I think it's very, very hard to ban away these guys because these guys are very, very prepared. They know exactly what's going on. They've seen the first 3 games and they're telling themselves, we're going to take this Leona, we're going to throw in a curveball, but we're also going to take this Jinx because we know exactly how we want to utilize this Nocturne. I think it's extremely bad, and I think that Maryville has already lost. Again, I know that this is already filmed, and I already know the outcome of the game. I know that Winthrop does actually end up winning, but I'm more curious to see how they play out that what's it called, the game plan with Nocturne, because obviously, if you give someone an extreme comfort pick, you're gonna make sure that you're gonna have yourself a really good game plan into it. But Yone being banned away again, Yone and Rumble is just very, very strong. You do still want AD. In your comp at this point in top and mid if you are on the side of Maryville. Second ban coming in from Maryville, I would hazard to guess they might want to continue with something like a Victor ban. Victor is going to be good. Doxa is obviously one of those players that does want to play Victor in the series as whatever, but you still have a lot of ways to play this. You have Orianna, you have Victor, you do have yeah, Victor's going to come out. That's just an obvious ban, right? And Lucian being banned away here, I think it does make a good decision here, but I don't think it's as important to have Lucian in this comp. You can R4 it, and it's going to be just fine, but I don't think it's going to give you as much value because of what's going on in this comp. Because this comp is just going to destroy you as if you pick Lucian. Because then you open up really, really creative picks that you can probably take into it. Orianna is perfectly fine. Bot lane does have the priority, so you're going to be able to protect that Orianna as much as you want. And when you're thinking about, red side versus blue side, if you pick that Lucian, it's just really not going to be as aggressive as oppressive. Yeah, Akali here is fine. You're going to want to match something, right? And we've seen this drafting strategy coming in from Maryville, even from game 1, where they picked a bunch of things. Winthrop had a what's it called? A flex, a 3-way flex. They had Gwen in this case, and then they saved their flex pick until R4. But game 1, the flex pick didn't work whatsoever. I think Akali here is a lot better. No, that's troll. It's not Ezreal. I'm thinking Orianna. I'm thinking. I'm thinking you could just send the Nocturne jungle if you really, really wanted to. Where would you want to go with this comp? You can really go a lot of different ways. You can hard focus the split, and then you can make it so that Jinx just has a really free time. And with that, you can play a strong 2v2 mid, which means that once mid game hits and one of the towers goes down bot, the 2v2, the ADC and the support end up going mid. You can just control the pressure out through mid. And what I mean by this is if you quickly draw out a map, the mid lane over here, it just goes like that. Obviously, that's not really what it is, but mid, top, bot, whatever. If you control mid in mid game, right? So let's say that these guys are pushing out, they're pushing, pushing, pushing. Now all of a sudden, your pressure can be all over the place because while these guys have already pushed, while Jinx has already pushed in Kai'Sa in the mid lane, Kai'Sa has to farm those creeps, and then all of a sudden these guys can go and roam. Leona and Jinx can go and roam, and they're active, so to speak, whereas Kai'Sa's not really as active. And then one thing leads to another, and you can continue to make plays, Nocturne ult. Twisted Fate, beautiful pick. I love this pick. I do really, really like this pick. Twisted Fate is probably going to be the best pick you could take right here. It's good into Akali. It's fine when the other champions have dive. Sion is just the pick that they're going to want to take here. They have been just putting hybrids on Sion for a lot of the time, anyways, in the series. So it is what it is. I think Twisted Fate's fine here. I think sending Nocturne mid is fine because Nocturne mid is different than Nocturne versus Akali mid is different than Nocturne versus Akali top, right? A lot easier to play out, especially if you've got a winning bot lane like this who can help you, right? So I think either jungle or mid here. But that's potentially obvious. Okay, with that being said, they are going to take the Karthus. They're going to take an AP jungler. This is interesting. Really, really interesting. I like this pick a lot. Okay? I like it for the fact that you can counter what these champions want to do. These 4 champions, and then we're quickly going to see they're probably going to match it with a prio getter from top, so they can push in. It might be an R or a set. Okay, so they're going to take the set. But look, with the exception of, you know, Akali, because Akali can go in and out and she can do a bunch of different things. She's very, very mobile. Um, all of these champions want to go in. And Karthus is extremely good at 1, playing around split, but 2, dealing with champions that want to go in, kind of in. So it's like kind of in, but then in, right? Karthus is really, really good here. Okay. I think Winthrop is just hard won this. It's very, very hard to play towards this the Scion. Sorry, it's very hard to play into the Scion. Now you do have Set, which is a lot different than Gnar. So I will expect to see something out of this game plan from these 2 champions, Rumble and Set, as they do go in and quickly. So that this is just for clarity purposes. Speed it up. But with Nocturne mid into Akali, Akali should be able to start pushing in Nocturne roughly around the time that, what's it called? That they do end up wanting to start roaming, which is roughly closer to 6. So with Nocturne, but actually, hold on, that should be a little bit harder to do than one might think, because again, we're thinking about bot lane. This game heavily revolves around supports, I think. So if supports are able to help their mid laners in any sort of way, the game will be very, very different. Depending on who can get the advantage first. But Karthus is just going to be able to relatively scale for free. Nocturne should be able to get the earlier levels when it comes to the wave. The sustain and the push is just too strong. And then we're thinking about bot lane. They should get the push, get the push, get the push. And then Set should push in Scion. So this is going to be a really awkward game. I think that Winthrop hard wins this because Karthus cannot be targeted in any sort of way, other than some really weird pathing coming from Odd Orange. So it's going to be very, very interesting what Maribel decides to do in order to take advantage of this. But I do think, though, that Winthrop hard outscales. So I don't really know how Maryville can come into this. I think if you're thinking about early game, if you're thinking about early game, you got to play through Set. You got to play really, really smart around Nautilus timers. And you got to hope to dear God that you can somehow stop this Karthus from becoming a monster. Because he's gonna just sit in any sort of bush. Now it is a blue side Karthus, so getting dragons is gonna be a little more difficult, but getting access to that Baron pit is just gonna be super, super detrimental when you think about mid to late game. Yeah, I'm not sure how Maryville tries to play this early game out. This is just super, super hard. Bot lane loses. Mid loses early. Rumble's got to get some crazy pathing. It's going to be around supports and Odd Orange to be the determining factor of this early game. Quick things to note. Karthus does have exhaust. I think this is very, very good. Helps with the Kali a little bit. You don't really care if it's using it on Set. We do have Conquer on the Jinx. I think it's fine to take. Both supports are coming out with this mid-bush. But you don't want to really see any sort of early game aggression from either comps. That's one thing that's been absent this series, is there's been no real sort of aggression earlier on. But it could be just because of these sort of mid lane champions we are seeing, as well as the jungle picks. In terms of where we want to see pathing, I think Karthus wants to path into bot, You want to be as safe as possible. You want to continue to doing what you want to do best, which is power farm. Again, this was nerfed a little bit, but nonetheless, you're still perfectly fine. I think, yeah, 11.10 was when Karthus got a little bit of a nerf, just because of the fact that camps got increased spawn timers. But with that being said, Rumble does receive a direct nerf as well from this. So the same sort of effect is occurring here. It's just that Rumble is more active when it comes to how well his ganks work. One, he's got flash, but two, he's got the E slow. Now, Karthus does have the E slow, but he also has the W movement speed buff. What lanes can he play around? Well, he can play around set. He can not play around mid too easily, but he can also play around bot. So I will be seeing Rumble. I wish Rumble would path into top, because Winthrop should hard win this early lane and make it very, very difficult for bot lane to sort of respond to this. So I do think that Odd Orange here is making a little bit of a mistake. I do think this Rumble pathing is a little bit awkward. Now, as we are seeing this is the first time we're going to be able to see that this ward is going to get contested over. I don't think that they can respond to this. I don't think this is good by Maryville, actually. I think Jinx is going to hard win this. He's going to play Conquer out. And why this is actually so bad is because, look at this. We have Halo Blades versus Conquer, and so with both champions, or sorry, with both 2v2s coming in with this very, very aggressive start, it's going to be extended battle, because this battle is happening right here. And we're seeing, watch this, watch this. So trade happens, all in happens, or sorry, not all in, but the trade's happening, autoing. Jinx is game able to stack, and they're just going to get that flash out, and they're going to continue to auto. And the worst thing, obviously, that happens out of this is that Kai'Sa isn't even able to get that fourth auto, or that fifth auto, the fourth passive proc. And so it's going to go heavily into the favor of Maryville, just because of the fact that, okay, wait a minute, we don't have flash anymore. And we're thinking about what happened with both junglers pathing into bot. Now, obviously, this is Karthus, so trying to dive this is going to be a lot more difficult, especially because right now, at this point in time, they do know that both junglers started top side and pathed into bot side. So no sort of dive is going to happen at this point. But just to throw the idea out there, if Karthus was a different champion, let's say, for example, it was a champion that could 3 camp into bot, or 4 camp into a bot dive. I know that is a horrible line there, but it does get the point across. We can see some sort of dive happening like this. And just as I'm saying that, Nocturne is looking to push that first wave and come directly into the bot lane. I don't think that this option is too good. I do think we already know where the Rumble started, and I do already think that Maryville is heavily behind right now, because now you're 100% never going to get Scuttle. So Odd Orange really, the bad decision turned even worse, okay? And Nocturne is just going to get those early waves in, and taking these trades from Spyrax, it's just not going to net you anything. Actually, will it? No, I'm going to take that back, because Nocturne wants to be active. He's already shown that he's leaving lane, which means his game plan earlier on, especially when you're dealing with Winthrop, who want to play that Nocturne, who know and they have a game plan around that Nocturne, you want to be active, which means that your health is your resource, okay? So if you have full HP and you're able to move, you're actually really happy. And if you're not full HP, your roams are going to be less effective. And so I think this is actually perfectly fine to do. But yeah, I'm just curious to see what Scuttle's going to look like. Okay, so Rumble is going to make an early play here. This is much needed. If he's going to do this, this is going to be the only saving grace. If this doesn't work out, I think the game is very, very weird. Okay, they're going to see him right away. They're probably going to burn flashes here. They're going to Q. Flash is going to be burned out. Flash is also going to be burned out from Rumble. And then Kai'Sa's going to get the early game kill. See, this doesn't make any sense to me. Why doesn't it make any sense to me? So third wave is hitting. Third wave is going to hit very, very soon. Jinx has rockets out. Look at that clearing coming from Karthus. Oh, so they used the ward here to ward this. I think in the earlier trade, maybe? Damn. Odd Orange did end up coming out with a really, really good early game play here. I mean, it wasn't really that good. It's more or less just playing to... Okay, and this is just stupid. I think this should never happen. That should never ever happen. Okay, we're gonna have ourselves a game. How could we have seen some foresight? Well, using that early game ward a little more effectively is really, really important, because obviously if Rumble is able to do something like this, it's going to put him behind in some sort of regard when it comes to pathing and tempo in the jungle in terms of clearing and whatnot. But if you're going to get, flashes out and whatnot, and you're going to get kills on your carry, really, really good here. Just I say that Set is going to make a little bit of a play here. This is just going down in a heap. This is really, really bad for the side of Winthrop. Just for anyone to know, anybody watching here, if you do want to see really, really good gameplay when it comes to Nocturne mid, you should go and watch Maryville versus, I believe it was 100 Thieves Next. This would have been a couple months ago, maybe even closer to the start of last summer. And Max Waldo was playing, and Fallen Bandit, the two coaches of 100 Thieves Next were playing, and they just destroyed Maryville. And this is when they had Niles and all those guys, and the Nocturne was just beautifully executed. The amount of safety that goes into their game is just incredible. And when you think about these two comps, like, you don't really want to do too much. And when you're thinking about Nocturne versus Akali, sure, you want to get early game leads if you can. But if it means that you're going to die to some sort of set roam because he's pushing, you got to make sure that you're keeping intact. And so what I'm seeing here is that there's miscommunication coming in from hybrids. He just wasn't paying attention. He could have said, okay, wait a minute, this is possible. You got to remember that this sort of cheese is possible, especially when it's game 3, okay? Sorry, game 4. It's do or die for Maryville. They're trying to stay in this game, and so they're going to try and keep in it. Kaisa, you guys didn't see it on the map there, but Kaisa did actually end up flashing here. Leona pinched the Kaisa out, and Kaisa had to flash over the wall. So they are going to get the blue buff here. Stolen away. Really, really good notice by Frostfire to go and do this. And you can see, even with that kill, even with that death coming from the Nocturne is still able to push in the Akali, okay? So it's not quite there. It's more of a late game counter. Yeah, I don't like how they're emphasizing this. Like, sure, this happened, but this is just really, really awkward pathing, and this is more cheating, if I were to say anything. Old Orange is going to get that kill, and whatever, but this is just oof, you know what I mean? Lots of stuff happening already in this early game. I like that Maryville is just kind of, they're almost throwing the game plan out the window and just making anything happen. But actually, as I'm saying that, I'm thinking about it because these guys traded early with the idea that, hey, maybe, wait a minute, let's fight early, get some sort of advantage if we can, but Rumble's going to be here anyways, and we're already going to get pushed in, so let's try and manipulate the way that we play this out such that trade's going to benefit us. Obviously, it didn't at all because they're both relatively healthy, as well as they didn't have that flash, because if Nautilus would have had that flash, then he could have just flashed on him and potentially killed Jinx as well. But obviously, it's more biased. Okay, we're going to speed it up a little bit. That kill, whatever. But really, when you think about these things, I don't think it's actually causing anything really that detrimental to happen. If we quickly look at bot lane, I'm wondering if the lane is frozen. If it's frozen, then yes, this is a little bit more difficult to deal with. But Jinx still has autonomy in this lane. They still have the ability to outrange, and Leona can still be a source of absorption with damage. I hope this doesn't work. We should know Rumble's top side. I hope this really doesn't work. The E is going to get missed, and they're going to have to take it away. Yeah, they saw him, I think, too, because they pinged. Yeah, you can see in the map there they actually did ping it. I think he actually got seen when he walked away from that bush. Yeah. Yeah, see, even though they did get the kill, Jinx is still having autonomy in this lane, and Nautilus can't really go in because of Leona, right? So I don't think the kills actually matter that much. I think it's a very, very small gain for the side of Maryville, but I don't think Maryville is going to get anything too heavily from this. And small trades are actually going to come out here. It's not small trades actually at all. Back and forth, back and forth. Fully stacked Conquer. Leona's going to go a little bit in too deep. Just keeps on getting hooked. We're just keep on putting ourselves in really, really awkward spots on the side of Winthrop in our bot lane. Shady finally got Nautilus because obviously Winthrop picked Leona first. And it seems like he just can't really play against it. He's so used to, at this point, he might be just autopiloting as if Shady were to be on Leona. But I just don't like that he's randomly getting hooked out of nowhere. Like, stuff like this just shouldn't happen. When you're thinking to yourself, we have a Karthus, let's wait till Karthus is 6, and then if this happens, one of them is going to die, 100%. It just doesn't make any sense for why this is happening. You know what I mean? Yeah, this is just a little bit inty. A little bit of an int. Karthus hasn't based yet, something to note. First drag going to be taken away from the side of Winthrop. And that in itself shows a lot of how much that early game death did. You know what I mean? Even though that they do have leads in bot side, they weren't able to translate those leads to anything. Nocturne's still getting pushes in through mid. Bot lane is still pushing them in, and they're still going to get that first drag. What this might mean that mid to late game, Kai'Sa is able to do a little bit more. And so who knows how much this lead goes into, but I don't think it's actually going to lead into that much. Jinx is still 0-0-0, and both flashes are down on both sides. And so when you think about how this can translate, you're not really quite sure. Yeah, this won't do anything. He has ult, he has flash. And the wave doesn't crash, but it's not going to freeze, so he's just going to take a base here. Yeah. He might have to TP back here, but the dragon's already gone, so he's perfectly fine TPing here. And he's just going to quickly get out. This is actually really bad by him, because what he could have done is just hard shove this wave. Although he didn't have W, so maybe he would have made the right decision here, because if he did have W, maybe he could have looked to shove that wave in. Again, Karthus got the first base off for free, so there's nothing really going to happen when it comes to punishing the Karthus here. Karthus is finally 6. They're going to try and go in on the set who doesn't have flash and doesn't have ult, so has no way of getting out. He's going to be able to W at some point, but that damage is quite big. Damn. But doesn't really equate to anything. Now, this is where things get really, really tough. Will they be able to try and get some sort of kill? I think Leona played that really, really awkwardly. Let's quickly take a look at that and see if anything could have done better. We have the Jinx down. You want to see who gets aggro first, and then go on them, obviously. But maybe it was just whatever. I shouldn't really critique stuff like that, because at the end of the day, you can't really critique micro. You can more or less critique the mindset towards how the micro comes out. But even stuff like this, he has no idea what's going on over here, and he tries to W and then move forward. If Nautilus just hooks, and Kai'Sa's still in here, then Jinx is dead. I don't get what's going on in Sasuke's head. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Karthus still has ultimate. They're going to start to play around Nocturne and Karthus. So I really want to quickly look at how they do this rift, because Leona is moving up, Nautilus is moving up. I'm going to see how this works out. But I do think that it should go heavily in the favor of Winthrop, especially because Rumble doesn't have ult. They know that. College is base, they know that. They're going to go and clear actually opposite. Karthus is going to clear opposite, and Rumble is just going to clear up top side and potentially go to Rift here. But I think the threat of Nocturne and Karthus ult is just super, super strong. Because even if they do send numbers to go do Rift topside, you know that's going to get taken away. And we can see actually Cyan looking to go ward it, because if they don't, then they don't really know what's going on. But I do want to see that if they weren't to go and contest like they are right now, then they can just go bot side and actually pick on the leads that they currently have in the bot side of the map. So they know it's warded. Jinx is giving up pressure, finally playing weak side properly. Karthus is coming down bot. And as I said, they are looking to make that cross map play just in case they do go for that rift. But at this point in time, they should know that they might not be going for it. Rumble shows topside, and all of a sudden, Nocturne is going to have to burn flash. Doesn't mean anything too heavily here. They might still try and target their bot side here, because now they know that Rumble's camps bot side are up, especially because they did take that first buff when it was up. Nocturne can just go at a moment's notice. He can go wherever Leona is. Jinx can also follow up with Rocket if it's a 200 IQ Rocket or something like that. And nothing really is going to happen. So I know I said 10-minute analysis is what I like to do, but I do want to see how they utilize this, because I know that they win, but I'm really curious to see how they utilize this Karthus and Nocturne. And it looks like they might finally do this. They're going to get the 2v2 going. Cyan's coming down with the ultimate, and then they just push them off. So the Rift is going to go over to the side of Winthrop here. Maybe? Oh, they're going to give up the pressure. Even though both ults came out, Nocturne is just too low. I think they could have contested if they really wanted to, but they're going to force second drag instead, I think. Yeah, Nocturne's going to TP. Karthus does have that second base already made. Shady is 6 now, Leona 6, so Nautilus and Leo are both 6. Rumble and Akali don't have ult. Karthus still has ult. Nocturne still has ult. Sion still has TP, and Set doesn't have TP. So this dragon, I don't see them ever giving up this dragon. This doesn't make any sense. Sion has ult, or sorry, has TP, and yeah, this is just really, really weird. They see Nautilus top, or sorry, mid here, and Leo's going back and forth in base. Like, what the heck's going on? You know what I mean? They could be here at this drag, and so they're going to go for the rift. Now, if they were to think that at the end of the day they do want to play on the split, I do think going for this rift is fine, because if you go for this rift, it opens up opportunities to use the Nautilus here in a really, really strong fashion. And as I said, they're going to use the Jinx ult with the Nocturne ult in a very, very creative way, especially with the Leona CC. Instantly blow up the Rumble. They're going to force this play on bot side of the map. Seth's going to stop the teleport with some CC. They're going to continue to follow up on this. I think this is really, really bad. Unless you're going to get the kill there. Okay, well, that turned bad into good, because if they were to chase that down and potentially get Lona for Karthus ult, you're thinking about really, really dangerous territory, but Dox is just going to get taken down. Yeah. And if this Rift pops top, it's going to be very, very awkward, because all that gold's going to go into Karthus, but also into Sion. And you don't really want your gold on Sion. Okay, we're going to stop it there. In terms of the early game, it was really, really back and forth. And by back and forth, I don't mean back and forth whatsoever. I think that Karthus didn't get punished at all, especially when you think about how many leads are on the map. You think, okay, well, we should be able to sort of do something with these leads. But instead, when you think about the drafts and how much more oppressive Winthrop's bot lane is, they still weren't able to get those leads. Again, they were able to get a 20 CS lead bot, which is substantial by a very, very strong margin, and the 20 CS lead mid. So they do get those leads there, because it did kill, it did equate to a kill in both mid and bot. So with that regard, they did get the lead. But I think, though, this Karthus is still a monster. And so when you're thinking about the win conditions, it's still present, right? Karthus is still there. Nocturne just needs to get one kill to get rolling, and he's back into the game. But I do think, though, that if both teams were piloted with this game state happening by pro players, I think that this might actually go into the favor. Actually, no, it can still go both ways. With that being said, so that Maryville didn't hard win the early game, but I do think though with the creative pathing from Rumble, and I do say creative with a grain of salt here because it was very very back and forth, uh, cheating for a lack of a better term. It might not be cheating in the sense that it's okay. We're we're throwing whatever, but it's more or less just throwing um, uh, efficiency out the window for a last Hail Mary call, which I think, especially in a last, this is a do or die game. You know what I mean? I think it's fine to do stuff like this, but I think it was more or less just because you're playing towards them being bad, which is going to work sometimes. So, with that being said, I do think though that Maryville did win this early game. It's evident in the gold spread you do see down here, but I do think though that all these deaths, especially the deaths coming from Leona, are just really really quite awkward. Doesn't really make any much sense. We're having random fights happening all over the place and random trades being taken in bot lane as if Karthus is a champion that can help you, especially when he's on Dragon. So it doesn't really make quite much sense. But with that being said, I think I'm going to end it off right there. Hopefully you did learn something. Hopefully you ended up, um, you know, getting some game knowledge on what's going on. And just to, end the series off because it is obviously the last um, game of the series, and Winthrop did end up winning it. We're going to quickly take a look at what sort of gold values and who ended up getting leads. So Sion and Karthus ended up having the bulk of the gold there, so it did end up looking like Sion was just an unstoppable force when it comes to frontline, and then Karthus was able to really just hold on to the lead and I guess Jinx stopped all sort of bleeding, and same with Leo and well on the side of Nocturne not really, but Nocturne's really just in there to try and get some sort of value out of his ultimate, as well as stack up on Leo engage, and so Leo's going to go in CC, and then Nocturne's going to try and get some sort of damage out before ultimately dying just because he's so far behind. But look at Karthus. Karthus wasn't able to get stopped in any sort of reliable fashion, which led to this team comp ultimately falling apart. All right. So with that being said, yeah, thanks so much for watching this sort of series. If you did like this, or you wanted to sort of try and have a conversation with me about any sort of opinions I have, go ahead and join the Discord in the description, and we can go from there. But this has been the first series that I posted on YouTube, and hopefully learn something. Cheers, and thanks so much.